Welcome to the Afropolitan Podcast. Over here, we love to say, because the brand new is unthinkable, we fight over the old. Over here at the Afropolitan Podcast, we are building the future of a progressive Black community. Today's guest, I have a special guest on today's show. We have Mrs. Affiong Williams.
Yes, or Affi.
Affi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very, very well.
You know, we should let the audience know you just won a game.
Yeah.
About like 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly.
You killed it. It
was a hard game, but
Yeah.
I played my heart out and we won, and I'm on a high, so I'm really excited.
You know when you caught the ball, there was no way they were going to catch you. You know when you ran to the end zone?
Yeah.
Chico was saying, Affi is the runner of the team. There's no way they're going to catch you.
I pushed. My legs just went on fire, man. I just had to do it. And
it was a great game.
We had a great time. Yeah.
No, but Affi, thank you for joining us on the Afropolitan Podcast today. Can we talk about your upbringing?
Sure.
Where were you born? How many siblings did you have? Where was your family based out of?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was born in the UK. Mm-hmm. My mom was actually getting her, I think, PhD at the time when I was born, and came back to Nigeria when I was probably like 1 year old or so. I'm the last born by a mile. Most people think I'm an only child, but maybe because my siblings are like 10 years older than me, that was a mistake according to my mother. She always used to say I was done. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have 3 older siblings, and grew up sort of in Calabar for my formative years. I'm from Calabar, with my father to some extent. My parents got divorced when I was 6, and my extended family. So I grew up around my first cousins, aunts, and uncles a lot, and yeah, then sort of moved for school a lot as well. I changed school 11 times from kindergarten to the end of high school.
Because you were moving?
Yes, because
Not because you were problematic.
No, I wasn't the best behaved child, but I was okay. Yeah, because my mom was moving a lot, and I left Nigeria when I was 11, moved to the US, and then moved to South Africa. 3 years after that, finished high school, university, started working, and after 4 years in my first job, I decided to come back home. Yeah.
And to Nigeria.
Back to Nigeria.
How long had you been away from Nigeria?
I'd said the time about 15 years or so. Yeah.
So what was the inspiration behind coming back?
Well, I had been coming back almost every year. Yeah, visiting home. So I kind of didn't feel like I didn't feel so removed from Nigeria. But the inspiration to come back home was to start my business. I had worked in an entrepreneurship support organization for 4 years. And I was really...
Is that Endeavor?
Endeavor, yes.
Yeah, Endeavor, yeah.
In South Africa.
Yeah.
And I was very inspired by entrepreneurs. They really inspired me.
And prior to that, did you have any entrepreneurial spirit? Was that even something you thought you wanted to do with your life?
No, not really. Not really. I will say that when I was 6, my cousin and I used to buy like toys in the market and we'd sell it. So I think that was my first. I was a trader when I was 6 years old, and we'd cook, subsidize, obviously, use my aunt's like cooking gas and everything, and cook food and sell.
So you were white labeling.
Yeah, I was just like getting all the freebies I could to make some change. And so if I think of my first sort of entrepreneurial pursuits, and we used to save our money, so I did learn a lot from that. But no, entrepreneurship wasn't ever about me even having a like great idea that I wanted to, I couldn't wait to sort of bring to the market.
Yeah.
It was more, I would say, a sort of a journey of purpose. I really felt inspired by entrepreneurs, and I also felt burdened by unemployment. That's actually why I started my business.
Yeah.
I was, reading up on unemployment in Africa and in Nigeria, and I was like, young people are really, there are no jobs for them.
With nothing to do.
Nothing. And so I said, well, if I start a business, then I can create jobs, because that's the problem I want to solve. And how I landed in my business choice was I just researched like which sectors create the most jobs. And like, I swear to God. And I was like, oh, agribusiness. Okay, people are talking about agribusiness a lot.
Just for our listeners, Affi is also the CEO and founder of ReelFruit.
Of ReelFruit, yes, which is a dried fruit processing, marketing, and distribution company in Nigeria. Okay. So that's how I landed.
No, Affi, you can't.
I can't rush over that.
So you researched it.
Yeah.
Said what's going to create the more jobs for our people, and you landed in agribusiness.
Yes.
Now, right? Knowing what you know now, and knowing what other industries are way out there.
Yeah.
Would you do it differently?
Yeah, I would not start a business. No, I'm joking. No, knowing what I know now, I would not have started a business where we were the first mover because that was really challenging. I think that was my biggest headache when we came to Nigeria, that, I started a snack brand that of a product that there was no likening.
Nothing else on the shelves.
And so while it sounds like, you were the 1st and you'll garner of the market, there was no market to garner. I had to basically beg people, beg stores, face a lot of rejection. And it took, I think our first 5 to 6 years was around us getting the market to actually accept it. Like, I think I started this business in 2012. I would say only by 2017, after we hit our revenues of 2017, did I think, okay, we don't have a market problem. We have other problems, but we know that people
actually
are buying.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yes, that was the...
So it's funny because I ate the snacks, ReelFruit, and I was eating off Chica's thing, and I'm like, yo, this is really good. And she was like, yo, this is Affiong's company. I'm like, are you serious? She's like, yeah. I'm like, I finished the bag, so she was upset. But in terms of landing on the name, how did you come on the name ReelFruit?
Oh, ReelFruit, yeah. I don't like to share the real name of my company because the real name of my company is a ripoff of a company in the US.
Let's not put it out
Yeah, let's
there.
not say that. So I copied it because I thought, I'll just copy the brand name. It's something similar. And then when I came to register it at NAFDAC, I'd already got my company papers, but when I came to register with NAFDAC,
because you have to do the CAC papers and then do the NAFDAC papers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when I did that, the lady was like, oh, no, you're not going to get that. You can't brand name. You can't certify that name and get a brand name. So she says, go back and think about it.
Nigeria doesn't do DBA?
No, well, the actual name is a phrase that she said I couldn't get rights to because it actually is a phrase. It exists. So it's like me trademarking something that, is, anybody could use.
Yeah.
And so she said, what people do is they go misspell words. So when I kept thinking, I was like talking to my sister, I'm like, I have this problem. And she's like, well, why don't you call it ReelFruit, but misspell the real to be EE? And then it got approved. And that's how we got the name. So yeah, it was just more like a process of just, could we get something that would get registered. We didn't think too deeply about that, but it's worked. It's worked quite well for us.
So in terms of the end of our journey, not end of a journey, ReelFruit journey, can you talk to us about how big the team is? What are some of the challenges you've faced with building out that team? And I think I read that it's also expanded into other countries, or at least ReelFruit is available in other countries. What was that journey like, getting the products into those countries?
Yeah, so I mean, we are a team of over 60 full-time employees right now, and we're going to be growing quite rapidly this year. It's been the biggest challenge, I think, for us. The challenges have changed. I think the two biggest challenges for us have been, one, raising capital in this country to expand. So where we have had a lot of promising opportunities in the market, it's very tough to attract money in Nigeria. Very tough.
And why is that? Is it industry specific? Because it usually feels like the fintech people are usually able to raise capital.
Yeah.
What would you say are your ideas behind that?
Yeah, I think obviously I think the challenges right now, I think they were different in terms of fundraising. Right now, I think, a lot of people would rather invest if money is a finite resource, a lot more people would want to invest in more seemingly scalable industries, and tech is one of them. Tech will, get a lot more is more attractive because even the funders and the international players are very successful tech companies that have a lot of cash to invest in other tech companies, right? So there's that it's a very high growth sector, etc. And agribusiness doesn't scale as quickly, even though I think, there's big room for opportunity.
Also probably more sustainable, right?
It doesn't scale as quickly. So if you're competing for money, more people will sort of look and prioritize tech. Fair enough. The market is the market. But Nigeria is a very, very tricky market. I mean, so even if you look at tech, the big play right now is just a regulation. So from the perspective of just macroeconomic stability, investing in Nigeria is very risky for investors. Extremely. And I think people, even me, while I complain, it's like, if I were on the other side of the table, it would be tough to make a case for Nigeria, because I mean, look at in the last month what the government has done in terms of sending signals around.
Have you seen the meme where on the pitch deck where it gets to what was it? Where it says who's your biggest competitor or what's your biggest problem? And they have Mephi's face.
has to be. He's the biggest. It's like I saw the messages that said, whatever you do, answer his call. Make sure you pick. No, because it's crazy, and I think those are the two things that are challenging. I mean, yes, the market is, is not the best. Like, you want a country with more disposable income. But, I mean, countries that are not as rich as Nigeria, like Ghana, get more investment than we do. So it's not just because, we're not, we don't have a high GDP per capita. I mean, there's still viable investments to be made. But I think the enabling environment and government is our biggest... necessary. It's our biggest issue. So you find that international players, can't really invest here. And you only have to have you can only either deal with HNIs or mainly local firms, which there are not that many to sort of plow capital. So it's really tough. And I think, obviously, if you don't have a large network that usually extends outside of Nigeria, to give you cash to continue till you finally raise. It's tough to grow. It's very tough. And that was something we faced. So even though I have a strong network, I built a strong network, I could have grown double the speed if we have capital, if the
Enabling
dollar, if the dollar doesn't, Naira doesn't lose value every 2 years, those are some of the biggest challenges. Building a team is tough, but I think we've figured out a way to sort of attract really good people in Nigeria to work for us. And I love that. I'm very proud of the team we've built.
How were you able to attract the team? Because it seems like for a lot of entrepreneurs, finding talented people to join your team in Nigeria is a very hard thing to do. It's very hard, yeah. So what was that journey like for you?
I think the biggest thing has been just my level of commitment to the business. I think people want a place where you honor your word as a business owner and that you're committed. So I've never done a side job, never done side hustle. I've worked on this business full time for 9 years. Most people come and they start something and then they start getting distracted. Granted, they need income, they need other sources of money, but you also, you make people wary whether they should commit fully. So I think my level of commitment, my level of just doing what it takes to honor my word, and it costs me. It costs me in, ownership. It costs me in taking expensive debt. But I believe that that's what I need to do to build a team around me, and those are things. And then just creating a culture where we really push people to do well, to do hard work and do meaningful work, and then we attract the people who like that kind of environment.
Where's your headquarters?
In Yaba.
Yaba.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
I think I read you have a farm in Kaduna?
Yes, we started a farm. We started a farm project, and we're looking to extend that because as part of our business model, and that's another thing I think entrepreneurs face. You start a business in one part of the value chain or whatever you're doing, you just want to take pictures. Then you realize that you have to solve all these other problems. The whole value chain. That's it. Every business, every.
So now I'm guessing you integrated. You said process of integration.
We're going back to expanding our processing factory. We're going to start setting up farms for key fruits that we need.
Does that make you sleep better at night when you know that, okay, the person you need to hold responsible is you? In a sense. Because it's hard to build out the whole value chain. But when you do start doing it,
then you get a huge advantage.
Exactly.
And then so I would take the sleepless nights and the stress to do that, because your business then becomes in somebody else's hands, and if you can't, then and then your growth is now hampered by a whole host of external factors that you can't control, even though there are a lot already. I would like to bring in, and that's the thing about the Nigerian experience of an entrepreneur. You have to start doing everything yourself, and it becomes overwhelming. So you really have to be committed for the long term.
So in some of the articles I read, it spoke about when the Naira does get devalued, for some reason it helps your business. Could you speak more to that?
Yeah, I mean, when the Naira gets, we hurt in one sense and we get help in the other sense. And the big help is exports. When the Naira gets devalued, all of a sudden, you as a country, for no other reason, just that your currency has lost value, become cheaper to foreign countries to buy because their dollars or pounds go further. So they can buy, products from you at a cheaper rate. So they would prefer
to buy from you at a cheaper rate.
Yeah,
okay.
And so that's what you take advantage of. Obviously, your cost will go up. So all the other things you're importing, you pay higher Naira for. But theoretically, and it does happen in practice, it's
Yeah.
not just theory, you should be able to take advantage of a lower currency to export to richer markets where you can sell a whole lot more than here. So, I mean, we can sell, entire Nigeria revenues in one state in the US. So we are building up to do that, and to export, to sell those kind of volumes just opens up to a bigger market. So yeah, the devaluation helps us. I mean, it hurts as well. I'm not going to make it look like a walk in the park, but it is an opportunity for us and other Nigerian companies to try to export. The problem companies face is that for most markets abroad, exporting, you have to export at scale. So you have to have a very well-oiled machine that can produce a lot of product, or whatever you're selling. Even if it's clothes, you have to be able to produce 1,000 pieces because that's just the market you're in. So that is a challenge. Can companies then scale up to that level to be able to take advantage of exports? But nothing beats having a local business and exporting, because you also then get the currency shocks because you're earning in Forex.
So then let's pivot a little bit. Personal.
Yeah, sure.
In your experience, you're married to another entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What are the advantages and maybe disadvantages of that?
Yeah, so being married to, I always tell people that my husband has been my biggest, I wouldn't even just say supporter, I'd say lifeline. I mean, and this is just, because he's more experienced and he's, I would say 4 of my biggest investors were introductions from him. So I got access to his networks. He's taught me a lot about just running and professionalizing my business. So from that perspective of just supporting what is my sort of journey of purpose, I couldn't have asked for a better partner. The disadvantage is that we're 2 very busy people. My husband works a lot, I work a lot. And so there is a sacrifice you have to make. And I think the expectation is that, well, you can't have it all, right? You can't have 2 people who are trying to build outsized, impactful businesses and not, expect always to have everything you sort of want, even on a personal level, social level, etc. So you make those trade-offs. There are times where we, take a month off holiday, but maybe for, 9-10 months of the year, we're working like 7 till 8 p.m.
So the reason I brought this up is I feel like I'm in a similar situation, but I struggle to switch off.
Yes, it's hard.
Even when I'm on vacation. Is
hard.
that something that you struggle with as well?
Absolutely.
So are there any tools you guys have come up with?
Well, my husband has now even stopped taking his phone into the room. So I'm hoping one day I'll just get the...
We'll get there
I'll
with
get
him.
there. I keep telling him I'm right behind you. Don't worry.
So when does he stop taking the phone into the room?
So past this year.
Certain time.
Yeah. So at 8 p.m. he'll be in his office and then he'll drop the phone down there and come up and read, and that is just a way for him to make sure he has no access to
the phone.
So he winds down, etc., and just keeps his mind going. And then our child helps. So when we're like playing with our little kid, you just kind of it's a great distraction in that sense. But it is really hard. It is really hard. And I think that's one of the biggest things that that you sacrifice for, but it's also that I feel really honored that I'm able to live my dream. Most people can't say that. I feel incredibly blessed. I don't even know how to say it. I feel like, wow, I get to wake up every day and do what I really...
And living your purpose.
Yes. Yeah. And so what trade-offs come with that, I take as I don't take it as I'm being hard done by. I don't take life could be better. It could always be, but it's well, you are getting something. There is something. A lot. Yes, it's not.
Purpose is a lot.
It's a lot. It's what wakes people up. It's what makes people feel motivated.
Sacrifice more.
Yes, exactly. And then you see that you're doing something, for the betterment of yourself, but other people as well. So I try to take that outlook. It's not easy. Yeah. And then also, I do things for myself too. So there's another. I don't expect all my sort of, either be it, say, winding down or my social skill to come from just being with my husband. So I play flag football. I have a running community. Yeah. I learned how to swim. I try to read in a reading club. I do things that also help me as an individual feel that, okay, I am also sort of living a more whole life. I'm not just I'm not just a business owner and a wife and mom. I am a runner and I play sport and I do these things. So
Star
that's
player of the Rebels team.
Yeah, I love my team. So so that helps me as well. That helps me as well to just keep your mind, because time does go by. I spent 9 years running this business, and it feels like a really short time, but it was like my prime years. It was like from when I was 26. I'm now 35. So it is. I think I can say I've done a lot in those years, but I want the next couple of years to be like, it's not only, I can't look back and just say I built a business. It's that I did other things. I did more charity. I did more that was not just about one thing. I lived a more sort of, I would say, multidimensional life. That's kind of the goal. But it is very tough, especially when you're doing well. I think when your business is growing, you're just like, let me ride this wave. Let me ride this windfall. Because as an entrepreneur, you're used to bad news. You get so used to rejection.
Always putting out fires.
You get so used to it. You get used to being knocked down, and you're just like, okay.
I always tell people, like, it's a, you have to psychologically wake yourself up every time.
You tell yourself a lie. You lie to yourself.
Tomorrow's gonna be better.
Yeah, you lie. You literally straight up become a pathological lie. Like, can you see a fire and you're like, no, we're gonna
cross through that.
No, you're meant to run. You're not meant to run into it.
We're gonna cross through that. It's very interesting, because that's why I think it's probably why your friends and your close circle becomes people who have skin in the game.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it starts to become a thing you respect more. Because even when they fail, you understand it, because it can touch anybody.
Yeah. And your respect and your appreciation for what they do is so much. You see what people do. I don't think people appreciate. I mean, obviously it's very hard to when you don't do it. But I think the way people talk about entrepreneurship, the costs are very, I think, hard to count. I think it's very hard to count. But I always get a bit like, I wouldn't say triggered or angry, but I get a bit saddened when, I see that there's just one lens. Like, did you win or did you fail? Did you raise money or didn't you? And in between, it's like, well, I maybe put my house on mortgage. Maybe, I took my kids out of private school. Maybe I had to fire people because I couldn't pay them. And these are not easy things to do. These are not things anybody wishes they would have to do. And I think that's more the case, but it's not at all the focus. So, when you're in it, you're like, shit, I respect anybody who put their life on the line. In fact, when I think about one of the entrepreneurs I used to work with at Endeavor, when I looked at his life, the reason I said, I'm going to do this was because he's a black guy in South Africa, first to go to school from a village, a rural village. Now, these guys are rare. You never found kids in government school getting scholarships to the best university. He is meant to just stay in a corporate career. That's what he does. You're safe. Yeah. You provide for your family. You do this. This guy leaves the corporate world, sells his house to invest in his business. I thought, I was floored, and I was like, at least I will go back to my mom's house. I will I will just move back home and say, Mom, okay, I'm a failure. Just let me live with you. He was the option. He was his family's,
and he still took that bet.
And I that's one of the things I was like, wow, if he did that, then I have no excuse, because I know I'm not going to be on the street. I'm not selling my house. I'm just giving up a job. And I think, that's par for the course. I think people need to understand that it's not, most people are not entrepreneurs making billions and screwing over the world. It's like you're literally just juggling to keep going and keep
the lights on.
Exactly.
So let's transition to COVID.
Okay.
COVID happens. Yeah. First, what was your year? What was the plan for the year?
Ooh.
And then when COVID happened, what did COVID teach you about yourself?
Okay, so COVID cost us a lot. I mean, if I could detail how much, not even financially, but in terms of sort of knock-on effects COVID cost us, it was really it's really sad, because 2020 was going to be a pivotal year for us. Our investment, we are raising and closing an institutional round, and that got pushed back by a year. There were a lot of we were going to take on a lot more business that was more business to business. With a
B2B.
lot of B2B with FMCGs in Nigeria, and because of COVID, they didn't have market, so they basically slowed. They all slowed down. Our Amazon business, we couldn't ship products out of Nigeria for a year, so something that we'd spent years building, we had to pause that because of COVID. So there was this big uncertainty. And I was quite like, I was trying to be, of course, I'm always defiant. Like, no, we're not going to let it get to us, and we're going to try build, etc. But I think what the year taught me was that I think it's been more about how much harder you have to work to sort of keep at your goals and your dreams and things like that. I think, people assume that there was all this time, or they got used to having a lot of time, but without the skills and without the sort of interest and the discipline and habits to do things, a lot more people lost than gained. While you gain time, you lost. I found you lost a lot of your for me, it was my reading stopped. I forced myself to run. That was something I said I don't want to let go, because it was just one routine that kept me going. Everything that I thought I would have a lot more time to do, just not having the schedule and the room to just get organized in doing it, I lost. I thought that was it. Taught me that you have to almost protect what, I have this theory that, you don't know your values till they're tested, and you don't know your willpower and your capability till they're tested. And I think the whole world was tested on, well, how do you keep your stuff together when everything goes out of whack? And I think it taught me that, the precious, like that stuff that you've been able to build, whatever it is, you still have to work hard to protect it. I thought,
and preserve it.
Yeah, and preserve it. And I thought that, time would be this valuable resource we're all crying for. We all say, oh, if we could have more time, but we had a lot of time, and most of us were just like, just not able to. I mean, there were real reasons why, but I think mentally and physically, a lot of people were not able to sort of, keep things together as they should have. And I'm one of them. I wasn't able to continue doing all the things that I thought I would do. And if I ever had this fantasy that, if I had more time, I'd do all these things, I didn't do them. And so I think that taught me.
I remember I downloaded about 24 Udemy courses.
Yeah, exactly.
I only finished like 3.
Yeah, you're lucky. I didn't even finish one. And I was like, wow, this is us who is always talking about time.
You find out that
you think you have a lot more time, and you just end up doing nothing.
It's not where it's at. It's not where it's at. So let's round up. Can you tell us what have been the books that you've read that have been most impactful to you personally, and also on the entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, great. My favorite entrepreneurial book is actually the biography of Phil Knight, the founder of Nike.
Shoe Dog.
Yeah, Shoe Dog. Yeah. Who
did we have that came up and said the same thing? It was Dyer, right? From Microtraction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shoe Dog is a fantastic book.
What was it about the book?
It was Phil Knight's hunger. It was Phil Knight's drive. I completely resonated with a defiant guy who just was like, we're going to make this thing work, and we're facing so many oppositions. Yes, and this is, product and credit lines and, receivables and selling, but having no money.
Who was the guy he had who was like a disabled person?
Yes, he had. Yes, exactly.
Just to get his shoes out.
Yeah, exactly. And there was also a strong purpose behind what he did, and I really appreciated that. There was also the sort of He talked a little bit about the mystery of how he started this business and sort of the signs the universe was telling him. And I resonated with that, because I feel that my entrepreneurial pursuit is certainly, something I feel deeply within me was what I was put on this earth to do. So I really loved Phil Knight's book. And one thing I love about what Nike represents. Nike's not a perfect company, but what I love about it is that it shows the beauty of what business can do to uplift so many people. Yes, you can talk about their value chains, but Nike made sports stars, and a lot of them Black sports stars. So for me, it's like Serena Williams, the Michael Jordans, like people who became incredibly wealthy and became their own empires because this platform was built. And that is something I really appreciate, that if business is an enabler of good, it's not just about money, it's not just about revenue. It can bring other people up, it can raise other people, the amount of scholarships, the amount of things that, because you build a successful business, you're able to do.
Empowerment through entrepreneurship.
Yeah, right? I love that about Nike, and that they're able to just, pass that on to other people who become wildly successful. I like that. So Shoe Dog is right up there, up there for me. I usually like a little bit of like books on discipline, I would say self-help, but around like around how to focus, how to break down tasks, and get things done. One escapes my head now, but it's called, I forget his name. I forget the book right now at the moment, but it's really about Atomic Habits. That's the name of the book. Okay. Yes. And it's really about, how do we instill new habits in ourselves to make us, make us more productive and more effective. And I really like books that basically say, break things down into their smaller components and just do what it takes to keep being repetitive. I think you are what you repeatedly do. And I think it sounds corny, but it's such a powerful tool, because if you repeat things, you become both good and bad. Your mindset becomes that. You become that person who either wakes up every day and does something productive, or wakes up every day and doesn't do something productive. So I like books like that. I think that's something that's really helped my entrepreneurial journey, and also helped me challenge the fact that you can always improve. I think you look at improvement as always this big thing that is so outplaced, but it's like, how about you just improve 1% a day?
Yeah.
That is success, and it compounds. So I like books that challenge me to think in that way, that small changes add up. They add up and they make big change, and so I like that.
Affi, thank you so much
Thank you
for having this discussion with me. Can you tell the people how can they get in touch with you, your socials, the website?
Yeah.
So
my company is called ReelFruit, ReelFruit, and so we're on all socials. You can get us through ReelFruit. I'm also on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Affi Superstar. Don't follow me on Twitter, because most people always say, I follow you on Twitter.
I feel like you're my spirit animal on Twitter. I swear to God. I feel like I'll be thinking something, and you will just tweet the exact same thing, and I'm just always showing Chica see what I was. I just say Affi just said the exact same thing. You know?
I like to, if you reach out to me via my email, I love to talk about business. I like to talk about, especially business in Nigeria. I think I switched off for a bit, but I'm a lot more excited about helping companies or talking to people who want to build businesses here in non-tech, or I'm not a tech person, so unfortunately I'm not on there.
Other industries.
Yeah, other industries I know about, but not tech that much. And even though I'm married to somebody in the tech industry, I'm not super clued up.
You know what was so cool? Ty wanted to do a payment for something, and he was like, "Yo, I get the Paga app," and he paid, right? Yeah. And I was like, "How cool is it to pay somebody on your own app?"
Yeah,
that's a different type of flex. It's like, "Yo, listen."
No, when Ty when we get stopped by the police and they're like, I'm like, "Ty, please come on, just give him cash." He's like, "Have you heard of Paga?" I'm like, "Oh my God, here we go again." Anywhere.
He's like, look, we might as well go through the whole value chain, right?
He's a customer service. He's like the biggest. I always, that is something I am so proud, because I'm the opposite. Like, everyone be like, "Where's your product?" I'm like, I always say never get high on your own stuff. That's an excuse. I don't just carry my product. I have to carry it. Ty was always like, Paga, you've never heard of it? Okay, bring your phone. And then you're do that. I'm like, oh my God, this dude is so great at marketing.
It gets worse for me, because I start saving my name as Eche Afropolitan. Forget my last name, throw away my last name. It's okay. Leave the last name alone. I'll just save it as Afropolitan. That way there's always
just call me Mr. Afropolitan.
And we go from there.
I don't have a name.
No, Affi, thank you again for joining us.
This was so much fun, Eche. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Right.